It is Thursday, finally, and things are taking off. Can you feel it? Now, the last few days have been amazing. There's usually then a pullback. So, I mean, lace up your shoelaces, get ready for the run during this pullback. It should be a good time. Today is that special day where we have our price expert join us. He's fantastic. He's got 30 years experience in price analysis, and we get the gift of his expertise joining us on Thursdays to take a look at what is happening in the market and some of the ones that you have asked us to look at. A lot of some of the majors and a lot of the altcoins that are on your mind. So thank you so much for your suggestions last week. We did have a great video last week where we actually were able to have Paul live with many of you. That was a lot of fun. Hope you're excited. Strap in for the show. Welcome to the Crypto Rainn channel. I am your host, Jay Rainn. And if you like money and you like crypto and you're looking for a real investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. You can do that as simple as liking the video and subscribing with the all notifications bell enabled. Now, special note, neither of us are financial advisors. I'm a crypto investor myself. Paul is an investor in many, many things, and he joins us to share his expertise in looking at the price analysis that's happening in the charts, because that gives us so much information. Special shout out to our Patreon members. We do have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to. All right, make it rain on that like button. Let's welcome Paul joining us to take a look at what's happening in the market.
It's great to be back. Really exciting time. Looks like things are finally moving, and yeah, looking forward to getting into the picks.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, right? So we see some signs that in a lot of cases, it looks like maybe the bottom was already in, and that they're showing signs of turnarounds. That has me really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we tried to maintain a positive view when it was sort of 60-40, 50-50, when the market was consolidating. We discussed the Bitcoin chart when it you talked about, is it a continuation pattern, a continuation flag? And I was saying that the price action in Bitcoin was a reversal, implying that it would go up. With Ethereum, it was less clear, but then we got the steer from the altcoins that were breaking to the upside, and that made everything look far more bullish. So, but if we go to the chart of Bitcoin, I can show you the levels that we've been talking about for the last few weeks. 42,000 was the first breakout point. So that was the first sign that things were moving in the right direction. But we really needed this 45,478, which I've been saying for such a long time, because key support, resistance, and then look at the way it broke through. It just went straight through it.
Right through it.
Yeah. So that shows that there was this, it was a key level, and it was really important for stops. So people who shorted it would have put stops over there. That's why you got a move like that. Now, where it stopped is the 200-day moving average. So this blue line here is the 200-day. It's literally stopped just shy of it. But I still think this has got a bit more upside towards 54. And 54 is the last hurdle for me. If it can take that out, I'm looking for a new all-time high. So these are it's moving in the right direction. We're trying to stay bullish because the chart looks bullish. I mean, also, you can't want the market to do something. It has to justify it. And although, of course, it's nice when everything goes up, you have to be realistic. And I can only tell you what the price action is telling me. So that was more a reversal pattern than a continuation pattern. And it has played out as one would expect that chart to do. It's got a bit more work to do, because remember, this was quite an aggressive downward trend. So it's still reversing that, but the way it's doing it is really good. So, even if this ends up being a bigger consolidation, which I still think is possible, that will gear us up for a really big move sometime this year, hopefully sooner, but it might be a bit later. But I still think, 2022, we will see this all-time high taken out.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I think this year has another leg of the bull run coming. That's been my thesis.
Yeah.
Like, on these lengthening cycles, we saw a lengthening of time between when the Bitcoin halving was and when Bitcoin peaked from 2013 to 2017. And then we're seeing signs that that's how it'll play out this cycle in 2021, 2022. And so the charts are agreeing with this thesis. At least they're showing signs that it might be correct. Probably the next month and a half will really conform or, show us that that thesis is wrong. So I'm looking intently at what's happening. But what has me excited is Bitcoin is showing some signals that maybe it's hit the bottom, but also many altcoins are showing signs of turnarounds as well. And so that's confirming that maybe my thesis is exactly correct.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. And yeah, the interesting thing was that the altcoins in some ways seemed to lead this move. So they were slightly ahead of it. Bitcoin was a bit more bullish than Ethereum, but the altcoins definitely led the Ethereum move, which is slightly unusual from what I've seen. It's usually Ethereum moves them because people buy into that, and then they obviously then move into the other ecosystems from Ethereum. But it happened the other way. So, whichever way it happens, as long as the charts stay bullish, I don't mind. It's but it's interesting to see how these cycles play out. But this inflationary problem is one that we've been talking about for a while, and it's not going away. So I think there are more and more people like, our extended family who will start looking at the prices of things and saying, look, how do I hedge against this? What do I do? Do I buy gold? Oh, what's this crypto thing everybody's talking about? So more and more people are going to get into the space.
Seems like it. Would you share with us? Do you have the strength of the dollar index? It's really,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed how much you've shared about that. I hadn't ever looked at the correlation between that before. What's interesting is that the US dollar is so strong, even though that we know it's being inflated and possibly devalued so much. But it's only strong relative to the other currencies, but it is still strong relative to other currencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the big move will come when the dollar starts to weaken. There's not the correlation between the dollar and Bitcoin isn't a one-to-one relationship. So it does, in other words, or an inverse relationship. So just because the dollar goes up, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin will go down. They can both go up together and down together. But because the dollar is the reserve currency and one of the most important currencies in the world,
Mhm.
I think it helps if it's weakening for things like gold and other assets to rally. And so when this starts to turn down, which it hasn't yet, I'm glad you wanted to talk about this, because I did actually want to mention this. I have been bullish on the dollar because of the way this is structured technically. And I was looking for a move to 100, and we had this consolidation here. As you can see, it's just been going sideways. And until a few days ago, it looked like it was going to try and take this high out and go for the 100. But it failed right there, and it's come right back on this line, which is an important support point. So if it takes this level out, the dollar could start to weaken. And, the next sort of safety net for the dollar bulls would be around 96. If it takes that out, the dollar could really start to collapse. And I'm beginning to wonder whether that is what's happening next. That's the next big move. So although it's early doors, early signs of this, I'm starting to be concerned that maybe the big dollar decline could be close. And if it is, then I think the move up in crypto will accelerate, even though, as I say, it's not a one-to-one relationship. The other thing that we need to look for is the 10-year yields in the 10-year US yields, because that shows us what the price of long-term money is. And that has been absolutely surging. And we were looking at around 195 as a target from sort of way back, and it hit 195, went over 2. The next target was 2.5, which it's just hit, and it's bounced off that level. So if it takes out 2.5, it could go to 3 and maybe more. But again, if there's this sense that interest rates aren't going to go up as quickly because the economy's not doing as well, and people start to see the dilemma that the Fed will be in, then this could actually start to go down. Like, people can start selling bonds because they're worried about inflation. So this is a tricky point. This is a really tricky point in history, because there's a lot of money washing around, and the Fed have got to balance this very delicately, especially with a war going on. if yields start to drop again, then the underpinning of the dollar could go quite fast. So again, that points to more upside in the crypto. And just to show you one final chart before we, if you want, before we go into the picks, I wanted to look at Bitcoin against the ruble, the Russian ruble. And if you look at this chart, I think this is really quite interesting. You can see structurally, although of course the ruble will be a much weaker currency, especially with what's going on recently. This whole structure is like a massive ascending triangle. So this is really bullish. This is a really bullish setup. And although there's a bit of a retracement, eventually we should take these highs out. And I think structurally we are possibly around here when it comes to the dollar against Bitcoin. So perhaps this is what's going to come next. We're going to get quite a big surge and people are going to get caught out by how quickly, even me, I'm not expecting it to break 54,000 quickly, but maybe that's what's going to happen. So it's worth bearing that in mind. We could get an upside surprise.
Yeah, what's been interesting, right, is the last 3 months, because the sentiment has been so downward, that a lot of people were disagreeing with my thesis that we'd have another leg of bull run coming, and that no, we're in for a bear market. We've had our highs all the way last March and some in October. But I just couldn't wrap my mind around that this cycle, Bitcoin's top would only be about 3x from its previous all-time high. That would be a massive slowing down. Now, you do see from cycle to cycle, the high of Bitcoin isn't as big, like in multipliers, as it was the previous cycle. And we don't have a lot of data points. So it's not like that couldn't be the case. In my mind, it was not likely the case. And so I placed my bets, and during the last 3 months, I have loaded up in altcoins and crypto with this thesis that the next 3 to 4 months are going to be exceptional. Though I always try to look at an open mind and be evaluating, is my thesis incorrect? And it's a little bit hard as you see a lot of bearish data come out and a lot of people change and flip with that. And, I've stuck to my guns that no, it's still coming and it's going to be strong and it's going to catch a lot of people out. And it's still going to do this. And so it's fun when I'm seeing signs of the market starting to show the signs we would need to see in order for it to play out that way. That doesn't mean it's a guarantee that's going to play out that way. Just means that the market is giving us some signs leading up to what could be exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it's good analysis. Yeah, you tend to see this this build up and a few things fall into place, and that's exactly what's going on. So yeah, we shall see. But should we go across to the audience picks, or was there anything else you want to look at?
Yeah, let's jump into those. We've got some good picks to look at. I'm looking forward to them, as well as some additional ones I threw in there myself.
Yeah, so this is the first one, which is the Jasmine. Is it Jasmine?
Jasmy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think we talked about it a little while back, and it had matched its prior low, which was a really good sign, and there was a pickup in volume, which is a good sign as well. So this is looking bullish. I think it would have been a speculative buy around here because it was near the prior low, really good support. It's had a good kickoff from that, a nice impulsive move, as we would describe. That means that it's starting a new trend potentially. This is a nice consolidation that I would like it to stay in this range, because then it could make what we call a pennant formation. So as long as it stays within 0.05 and just below that here, 0.03, if you can stay in that, actually, for a couple of days, then see a breakout here, we will see a very sharp move to 0.08. And a pennant is just a pause. It's like if you can imagine a train going on a journey and stopping at a station, that's what we're expecting. So if it lasts a bit longer than that, lasts a week or so, then it's something different, maybe see a correction. But if it can stay at this high point and just sort of stay locked near the top of that range, then when we get a breakout from the high, we should see another sharp move. So the big resistance that this needs to get to for it to break into even higher levels to make a much bigger base would be this area here, which is 0.25. So 0.25, that would make a double bottom, a massive double bottom formation. And then we could be talking about all-time highs. So it's got a few steps before it goes there, but you know, as long as it's above this main support, I think the outlook's bullish.
Yeah, I agree. For me, this is a buy at this point. Now, that doesn't mean it can't come back closer to where it was before. You never know, but I tend to hold for longer periods. So, like, if it does, I buy, and this often happens to me, and it's frustrating, right? I buy, and then all of a sudden it gets like 25% cheaper or 30% cheaper, or sometimes 50% cheaper. That recently happened to me on OMI. I bought some more at 0.72 cents. It's dropped all the way down to 0.27 cents, which is frustrating in the short term. But the period that I'm in, I'm not worried about it because I believe in the next 3 to 6 months it'll be much, much higher than it's at. Though the frustrating thing to me is I could have got so much more. So Jasmy at this price, I still like it, even though it has doubled from where those lows are. And it could retrace a little bit to that. If it trades sideways and then breaks down a little bit, it might head towards that. But my guess is the bottom is in. And so that's why I like it. And it's just a guess. I'm not always right. I'm just almost always right.
Yeah, it's a good place for it to start to rally, that's for sure. And really good support there. And it's a really sharp move, which is what you want. So if you look at how it did that before, that was a really sharp move. Okay, so there are other factors that cause for it to fail here, but that's why I would like it to take that out. It would really be a moving to a new level of the characteristics of the technicals would look so much better if it can get through that key resistance point. But the sharp move seemed to be a good indication that it has got more to come.
So previous highs are at like almost $5, which is more than 100x away.
Yeah,
where we're at now. So it's like if it gets halfway there, I mean that's incredible returns.
Yeah, because I've got it on a log chart. I mean, you have to have it on a log chart because otherwise you just wouldn't see any detail. So we wouldn't be able to talk about it. But that's absolutely right. When you take it off the log chart, which is showing the percentage effectively, like the putting it into perspective of like a move from 0.5 to 1 is obviously doubling, but if you move from $1 to 2, that's doubling as well. So the actual scale has to reflect that. So that's why you have a log scale. And it only really matters when you're talking about massive moves, which is usually the case with crypto. So I kind of keep it on log scale all the time. But yeah, as you say, that's a massive move, absolutely huge. So it's still very cheap relative.
Yeah, that's looking very good.
Cool. So I think the next one is GRT. So I guess that was the graph, but you could tell me whether I've got that wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a really good one. Thank you for this because we have got an inverse head and shoulders. So that is a reversal pattern. And let me just draw the line in. So this is the neckline of an inverse head and shoulders. So this is the left shoulder, this is the head, this is the right shoulder. What's nice about this is the right shoulder is actually smaller in time and price than the left shoulder, which is what you would want to see for a reversal. So buy signal comes in at 0.45. So as long as it stays above 0.45, we would stay long. And stop losses would be below 0.38. So just to repeat that, because I just heard a bit of feedback, just in case you didn't get it. So 0.45. So 0.45 is the buy point. That's the neckline. And the stop loss would be below this 0.38. So as long as it holds above this 0.38, this technical pattern is pointing to a base. It's saying that this trend is reversing. And how far it can go is obviously I don't like to put sort of upside targets because I don't know when it's going to stop. So I like to say it goes up until it gives a signal that it's not going up anymore. But where I would hope it would get to in this move, to be decent, would be around this $1 area. So I think that's fairly reasonable for it to recover into that area. And as I say, good risk reward there because if I'm wrong, You know, it's a relatively small stop. There's a bit of safety below that at 0.31. So 0.31, if it breaks that for me, it's game over, definitely a bigger correction, but I'd be out a bit quicker than that with a tighter stop. So that's a really nice one because I like the technical pattern. So thank you for that.
Yeah, agreed. I like the technical here too. I remember a year ago when this really launched and everybody was talking about it, and it went really high. I went all the way to like 230, 232, putting its market cap in like the 6 billion range. And I was like, just so hyped. And for me, it's not even a good enough entry because it's still in the market caps at 3.2 billion. And I
Right.
like the technical pattern, but I asked myself, where can it go from here? Maybe 10x. Like, I like the other one better. That exchange, that sound that you heard in the background was me just changing around an order to be able to put in an order for Jasmy on KuCoin.
Cool.
Because I like it. Now, I didn't buy it at market price. I'm hoping for a little bit of retracement, so I put it under a little bit in case it comes down into that. Because Jasmy, I like the technical pattern too, and I like what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing nice rounded bottom, could go good from here, but like Jasmy, with a little bit into it, it has just a higher chance, in my opinion, of going 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or, for really lucky, 100x. And the graph just is already so high. It just not room, in my opinion, to go 100x or 50x. But probably a less risky project than Jasmy.
What does it do?
The graph is it's like decentralized data, right? So APIs for a vibrant decentralized future. The graph is an index protocol for querying networks like Ethereum and IPFS. Anyone can build and publish open APIs called subgraphs, making data easily accessible. So there's a need for what they're doing, and the use case really hasn't like been huge yet, but kind of like Chainlink, as its use case starts to catch on, it could do well. But there's also some competition in this space. The graph is like got one of the highest market caps, but they're not necessarily going to win in this. They might, but at a $3.2 billion market cap, for me, it's a pass, even though I like the chart. The chart says it's probably gonna, to me, says it's probably gonna do well from here.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you make there with regard to its market cap. It suddenly looks quite expensive then when you put it in those terms. But again, that's why I use charts, because it takes, for me, it takes that element out, and everything is if it goes up, then it goes up. So that's for me, it's just a trade. But I accept that there's potentially better opportunities, and that everything's got to be weighed up against that. So whenever you're saying something's a buy, it's a buy relative to whether you actually want to, whether you think it's a buy or it goes on the buy list, and then you whittle it down to the last 2 or 3 that you actually want to invest in. And I think that's a good way of putting it. It just goes on the buy list for further examination.
If I didn't have better options, this would totally be a buy for me, right? Because it's a buy, but not a buy for me, because like for me, I just have other priorities that by the time I would get around to this, it's like all the money will be allocated on stuff that I just think during the same time frame they have better chance at higher returns.
Got you. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. But great suggestion. And this one had a ton of fanfare and hype a year ago. And I was like, oh, that one sounded good. When it launched at like 12 cents and went to like 234. And I didn't have an opportunity to be in the pre-sale or the IDO or ICO or whatever it was of this. Those people made a killing on returns. But I do like about this that it has 2/3 of their supply in circulation. So 6.6 billion of their 10 billion is in circulation. So I do like that so much of their supply is already in circulation. And that's bullish for me, that there's not a lot of people with pre-sale tokens or other tokens sitting out there that aren't currently in circulation that can be dumped on the heads of buyers. For me, that's great news. I always like to look at that thing, having learned the hard way and having an anvil dropped on my head. So to speak.
Yeah. So the next one is ERN, I believe. But why have I got over? Oh, is that ERN? I put the codes in. Yeah.
Ethernity Chain.
Let's have a look. ERN. So ERN. Oh, Ethernity Chain. Okay. So that'd be this one. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's just make sure that's up to date. Yeah, that is cool. So data, again, not a full complement of data there, but enough to get a feel for what it wants to do short term. This is potential double bottom, so downward trend and resistance up here at $6, $6.50, came back down, held support, which is really good. So it's held that prior support. I'd have been getting very nervous if it had broken a bit any lower. But it's turned around, it's gone back up into this range. And if it takes out this 6.5 level, then it's a buy. Now, again, I think I mentioned it last week. You could buy ahead of that level if you want. There's an upside and a downside. The upside is if it surges, you've got in at a good level. But the chances of failure are higher because you're not buying the breakout, you're buying before the breakout. So again, it's down to preference and discipline. But technically, it's looking interesting. And if it wouldn't take much to turn it from a wait into a buy, but it does have to take out this point 6.5 for me before I would actually pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, for me, this is a wait too. Although some good things I can say about this, we did do a strategic relationship with them about 6 months ago, and it gave me a good chance to interact with the team. Highly skilled professional team, and I really appreciated that. When I was talking with them and working with them, you get a chance to get a feel for how they operate and what their level of professionalism is, and they operate at a really high level, which makes me bullish because honestly, a lot of a project success, some of it comes down a little bit to luck, some of it to timing, but a lot of it has to do with who the team is behind it and who's running it. And I feel like they have a top level team. Currently, the market cap's at 81 million, so it's in the range I like to see. Their total supply and their max supply are 30 million, and almost half of that is in circulation. Okay, so that's a decent. That's okay. Looking at their charts, here's a little bit past. I remember when this launched, and I wanted to get into the IDO on this or the pre-sale in the worst way, and I had none of the connections to be able to. And it did crazy. This made a lot of millionaires. I think the pre-sale or initial DEX offering was somewhere around like 10 cents or something, maybe even lower. It went to almost $70. And so it's retraced all the way from then, but they've had some really good NFT licenses like Lionel Messi, which is one of the best football players for those in the U.S. soccer, world renowned player, and they've done some things with him, also with Shaquille O'Neal, and so good project. I think this will pump pretty good if my thesis is right, but for me, it's a wait only from the standpoint, like so they've gone up a lot here low, came back down to that same low. They pumped, hit this resistance. My guess is they come down again and might create a new entry opportunity at 5 or 450 is just my guess. And I do like to buy cheap. Their market cap isn't really high. But I asked myself, where could a project like this market cap go? Maybe a couple of billion, maybe. It depends on how well they've hit it. So they've hit some home runs in the past. Will they continue to hit home runs? And if they do, the market cap could go into the billions. If they, especially if they get into a lot of the hype cycle and the news again. So it's a decent one for me, though. It's a wait at where the current price is.
Okay, so the next one is it Metahero or have I jumped? I think I've jumped. It's OVR is the next one.
Yeah, let's take a look at OVR.
So is that over moon or is that something else?
I think it's Moon. Oh, OVR. Okay, yeah, no, it's just OVR. Let's see. I haven't
Okay.
looked at this one in a very long time. OVR.ai is their website.
Okay, OVR, sorry. OVR, sorry, here we go.
It's a metaverse project.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I actually typed over, which is the mistake. So, yeah, what to say about this one? Interesting, isn't it, really? It's had its pump, and I think we know why it did that. And then it broke into a new high, and it's come back. It's just sort of sitting there like it's almost sort of dormant, really. It's just sort of going sideways. That's really odd. It's not going with everything else. Is that up to date? Yeah, it is up to date. What to make of this? I would have thought that given everything else is moving up, it would have had at least a little pump, even a slight pump through this $1.60 level, which is the top of the most recent range. So that goes back to a couple of weeks, and then resistance here. So quite why it's performing so neutrally is a bit of a mystery, especially considering it's in a hot space. So I don't know what to make of this. I think it would have to be a wait, but I'm going to put in a retracement level, which would be what we call a Fibonacci retracement. And what we can do is we can look at this low and this high, and we can see what the main levels are at and whether it's gone through them. Actually, it's gone through them all. So we look for 38.2% and then 50% and then 61.8% for reversal points, and it looks like it's just basically gone through all of them. So the last one is down here, which is at 78.6%. So that's retracing this move basically. So does it want to come down to 1.18 before we buy it? Possibly. So I'm gonna have to say this is a wait, but I do like the space, and I do still like the sandbox and mana, and I'd hope that this can actually just start to turn around and take out some resistance at, say, 1.69 for it to show a rounding base, but it's not done that yet. So I think we'd have to revisit this in a couple of weeks and see whether it's managed to turn around, whether there's a specific reason why this one isn't doing well, and that can be sort of shaken off. But it does need, at the very least, to get over this 1.64 Fibonacci level before I could get interested into it, and perhaps even 1.69. And until it does that, I've got to wait. But it's a bit puzzling, this one.
It is puzzling. For me, it's a wait, too, because it stayed so high. Like, if share my screen real quick. So, previous high was here, came up, and it went to this new benchmark. And maybe it doesn't come down from here. But one of the principles that I think about is buy low so that I can sell high. And this may be low. I just don't know that it's low well enough, right? So, and if it breaks through, like you showed on the chart, if it breaks through that level, it's going to come down quite a bit. I think the next level was around 75 to 80 cents. And that's if it holds at that support level, if it breaks through this support. So for me, it's just a wait and see. I was looking at the website. And they are selling some land, and I guess as they sell the land, they're burning some tokens. So I can't say from a fundamental level that I understand completely what's happening with the tokens behind this, and like how they're being, and what's causing this very, very odd chart compared to everything else. This retracement is actually not a very big retracement compared to what a lot of things have gone through that pumped with the metaverse pump. You see right here near the end of October was when Meta or Facebook made their metaverse announcement, and everything metaverse related went crazy. And so it peaked out the 2nd of December, but it hasn't retraced all that much. It's only lost close to a little more than half, which a lot of things have come down 80% or 90%. And so this has just come down some. So it might be a very good buy at this. I just can't tell. So for me, it's just a wait.
Yeah, I agree. Needs a bit more before we can say buy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is, I think I'm one ahead on each one. So is that Hero, basically? No, that's...
Yeah, Hero.
Yeah. So Let's put that in. Hero. So that's Metahero?
Yeah, that's the most likely candidate.
Yeah.
It helps us if they give us the same name because there's like 7 tokens with Hero, but this one's the highest on CoinGecko, so it's
Right.
ranked number 240. So my guess
Okay.
is that's exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah. So this is one that is sitting on support. It's data's a bit spiky here. I don't like that. I don't know whether this is real. So this move down here is real, or whether these are just some bad prints in data. But I can see it gets a little spiky, which tells me it could possibly be real. Which I don't like seeing things like that. It means it's a bit unusual. At least the other chart was very smooth, and you didn't have these big moves outside of the range of the trend. But I'm going to say for the moment that taking that aside, and I don't like to discount price action like that. If it can hold above this prior resistance here, which it's got close to, then I would hold a tentatively bullish view, because it looks like it's retracing and very small base there. And I'm giving this the benefit of the doubt on the basis of the bigger picture rather than this particular chart itself. It has this good support at 0.043, and then if it goes a bit lower at 0.038. So as long as it can hold between 0.043 and 0.038, I would say it's a tentative buy. But it's not accelerating. It's not really sharp moves, not very impulsive. So I could be wrong, but I would say it's, at least if it's holding over those levels, that's a really good sign. If it breaks below it, then I think there's a bit more to the down leg, and I'd have to wait for a bigger reversal pattern. As reversal patterns go, this is very small. It's not a large pattern. It's equivalent kind of to this one here, which is a double bottom, and it made a small move up. So we're seeing a double bottom here, and it's just starting to move up from that. But it's lost a little bit of pace on the last few days. I'd still like to see that take those highs out, a few green candles, just to show that it wants to be impulsive, as it was doing here. So it's the beginning of something potentially bigger, but we still got to be cautious, I think.
Yeah, for me on a fundamental level, I'm looking at their website and just kind of digging in a little bit deeper on who they are. And they're supposedly about creating a metaverse and like scanning things in. They're showing you an example of scanning these people in and making 3D versions of them. I'm not getting what is going to make this special over time feel from it, right? And its market cap is already pretty high for a company I don't know that much about, 281 million. It looks like about 56% of their supply, or if we say off this total max supply, 52.7% of their supply is in circulation. So that's not a bad number. It looks like they've been tradable, according to CoinGecko, since mid last year, so not quite a year. It's down 80%, so it hit almost 25 cents. It's right around 5 cents now. So I'd like to see that kind of retracement. But for me, for this to be a buy, I would have to understand more about what I liked about their long-term vision. And I'm really not seeing that simple enough from their website. So bringing the next 10 million people into crypto, but how, right? Like,
Yeah.
leveraging their state-of-the-art 3D capabilities. It'll be the sole currency of the entire ecosystem, paid in Hero, scans, licensing, NFTs, all payments in any direction. I don't know. It sounds cliche to me. So maybe I'm wrong on this. If I met the team and they were amazing and I was like, and I really got their vision, but right now I'm just not seeing it. For me, this is a no.
Okay.
Not at this market cap. If the market cap was 20 million, and it's not that I dislike the chart. The chart is fine. Might come down lower still, but it's already at an 80% discount. But it is at a market cap that's already in the hundreds of millions, not at the 20 million. So where can this go from here? Well, they'd really have to nail it to take that market cap to say 20 billion, and I just not seeing it from their website, even though it's nice and flashy. They didn't encapsulate well what is their value proposition that's really going to make them hit it of bringing 10 million people into their metaverse versus all the other competition.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is Atlas. So Atlas. So we've got Star Atlas, which I think is the one. I seem to remember it for some reason.
It is definitely the one.
Yeah. So this is smooth chart, smooth downward trend, and what we've got here is a V low. So we've got a V bottom, and it's mirror image. So if we look at what's happening where I've got this cursor, to the left is mirrored to the right, and sometimes this happens in a way that can be uncanny. So we have like a little consolidation here, which is actually being repeated here. So we could get a pullback towards this 0.03 level as good support, and then a move back up, which I think is what it will do. So I like this. We put it in a trend line. As long as it stays above the trend line, this is bullish. And there's not much more to say about it, really. It's turning around. There's a lot of ground to recover because it's been going down for some time. And the next big resistance point where the short-term buyers will probably think about taking some profit will be at 0.043. So I would be looking at that level, tracking that closely to see how it trades there. But if it can get through there, then it would start to really open up the upside. But that's the stopping point, 0.043, and then above that, 0.064. So I'm not saying that it will get there. I'm just saying that those are the points where if it does get there, we'd see how it reacts. Like if it goes straight through it, then brilliant, it's got more upside. This major trend is something that we have to be aware of as well. But it's actually broken it now, which is why it's that we saw that surge. So you see that sharp move was a technical break. Possibly Algo's buying it, I don't know. But yeah, that's a good buy. Yeah, so nice one. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah, I like Star Atlas fundamentally. They're a great game. So a project, it's a space type project, which I like those types of video games in the crypto space. I guess they're one of the best ones to that are out so far and been out for a while that are most likely to really hit it with a AAA level game. Interviewed one of their team members like 6 months ago. I really liked the team behind it. And so yeah, for me though, on the chart, I'm looking for a little bit more of a W. So I'm seeing a nice rounded bottom. So this isn't on logarithmic. We can see it did top out at 25 cents. It then has retraced about 90% from that high. But what you often get is a W. So I see the first leg of this. Now, so what might happen is comes up a little bit more, comes back down. It won't quite hit as cheap as it did before at 2.38 cents. It might hit only like roughly where we're at now, but I like to see that first before it'd be a buy for me. Some good things is that the market cap isn't very high. It's only at 72 million. Could go a lot higher. This was in the news a ton back here, right? Everyone was talking about it, which is not when you want to buy it. You want to wait till nobody is talking about it and then evaluate whether it makes sense and if it's still likely that it will be back in the news cycle in the future. So buy it when it's boring and nobody's talking about it, and then hold it till it gets back into the hype cycle. That's how I think. So yeah, for me, it's still a little bit of a wait because this downward trend. Paul showed how it broke it, but it usually will come back down and retest that. And I'd be looking for that retest to buy it.
Cool. Yeah, so the excuse me, next one we've got is SLP. So Smooth Love Potion. I seem to remember that actually. Is that the one, or was it actually just SLP? Small Love Potion, that's it.
Yeah, was that in last week's picks? I'm not seeing that for this week.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, you're right, actually. I have got that from last week. Yeah, because I've got them. I've got them all on a list. Now,
would you mind if we looked over at Render?
Yeah, absolutely. What happened was I got all the charts ready and then got myself out of order by mixing them up. So that was good. Yeah, I was wondering actually, because I was thinking there was one that you asked to look at that I thought looked really interesting. I was really pleased that you'd asked for it. So this is the render token. And what we've got here is a triangular constriction. So for those of you who've been following the show and the technicals, you know that I love the triangular constriction as a bullish sign, and this is exactly what we've got here. So so what we've got is a break of that upper resistance line of this triangle. I'll just draw the next line in, and it is starting to break out. Now it's also holding above the prior resistance. So that prior resistance at 2.58 is really key. So it needs to kick off its next move above 2.58, which it looks like it's starting to do. So I think this is getting ready for its next move into new highs. And I like the look of it. Now, my guess is, and it's just a complete outside guess, that it's got something potentially to do with the metaverse, because I'm seeing a few of the metaverse technicals look like this, where you've got this triangular constriction. It's been mirrored in Decentraland and the Sandbox. So I'm going to take a guess, I don't know anything about this token, but technically it looks really good, and I like the way it trades as well. It's smooth, so it trades nicely technically as well. So we know where we're wrong. If it breaks below this 1.78, then the trade's not going to work, and everything's probability. But for the moment, this is one of the best looking charts.
Yeah, I like it. I put in a buy order for this, hoping it just touches down. It's not like it's a bad price right now, but just so that maybe I can get a little bit cheaper. So some things I like and don't like about it. Current market cap is 700 million already. Wow. So the amazing buy on this was way back here, right? 92 cents, or back here at 11 cents. It's no longer 11 cents. That ship has sailed. So the chart looks good though. Now, what I always ask myself is, if I'm right on this leg of the bull market, where can it go from here? And I try to give myself a range of where I think it can go so I can categorize it, because I like to have different risk profiles. I would say that this is lower risk than a lot of my bets, but as such, maybe if I'm lucky, it goes 10 to 50x. If I'm really lucky, 50x. But that would be really, really lucky, because that would take it a really high market cap from here. And so really, this is a probable 5 to 15x in if my thesis is correct for me. And so that's, I was light on that bucket. A lot of my stuff is higher risk that could go 40 to 60 or 100 or 200x, but could go to zero. And I have a lot of bets on ones like that. So this was one that I was wanting to take. Made sense to me. I felt solid about it. I was not going to chase into its highs when it hit $8. So a lot more happy with the prices around here.
Great. So the next one, would it be? Oh, that's my one. So Gala, yeah. Now look, that's pretty much the same. By the way, what did the render token? What does that do?
So it's like using decentralized rendering technology to render your stuff. So say your computer is pretty light computer can't handle it, but you can offload that to, like, all these gamers, they have these PCs and maybe they're at work for 8 hours and they can put their computer to work rendering stuff for people, and in return they'll earn some tokens.
Yeah, so maybe they are linked to the metaverse by
absolutely
by how much they need to render. That's really interesting that it's tracking it. So this is another really nice looking chart of a triangular constriction. Again, it's just breaking out from it. That's a bullish triangle. It's just broken through. Now I'd like to see some acceleration, because it's the sparking of a new trend, of an impulsive trend when this happens. So we don't want it to meander through the line. We need to see some acceleration as people start to pile in. So this is perfect to explain what I'm talking about. You get the range and then suddenly it starts to go. but it's broken it here, and again it's looking bullish. So whilst it's above, well, the failure point for the triangle would be at 0.15. So if it gets below 0.15, this is no longer a bullish triangular constriction. Where I get worried that it's going to be a bigger reversal would be if it breaks 0.12. So I know where my lowest point is, but at the moment the trend is bullish, the pattern is bullish, so the chart's looking bullish. So it's another really good one.
Yeah, Gala, I like. It was one that I missed in the early days. So they're developing a whole ecosystem that a lot of their NFTs or their token will operate across all these different games that they're bringing out, and they're investing very heavily in creating games, as well as they have nodes that you can acquire. Those nodes were like $10,000 or cheaper a year ago, and now they go for around over $100,000. But by operating the node, you earn Gala tokens as a reward. And so they essentially have their own ecosystem, and it's an interesting model, a model that so far has been working very well. And I expect good things out of Gala. So for me, not only is this a buy, but I bought some in the last week. So
Right. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I can see why. So the next one's Chainlink, and if I'm right, and I think we've seen now Chainlink's a really interesting one again, because on paper, I remember thinking about this after the show when we talked about it, because this should have been a double top, and I should have called it as a double top, but there was for some reason I was reluctant to call it that, because it looked like it wanted to go up, and I can't really explain why, because it didn't follow the technicals. It was just seemed to be a gut feel thing, which you shouldn't really use when it comes to reading charts. You should be as objective as possible, I should say, completely objective. So it's held this support, and I still think that it's got more upside, although it's consolidating. I'm erring on the bullish side, and I don't think until it breaks now, if it does break this 12 level, I'd have to accept that it's not going to go up, and it's going to reverse. But whilst it's above 12, I'm going to stay with the bull side.
yeah, I like Chainlink. They have dominated the price oracle space, and an oracle is needed in order to tell DeFi protocols what the price of something is in a reliable way that can't easily be cheated. Because if you can cheat what the price oracle is saying the price is, then you can steal large amounts of money in DeFi protocols. And so they've dominated that space. They're the number one player. Now, the risk that I see in Chainlink is that there's some very, very large players that hold massive amounts of Chainlink. And that's why I think maybe the price is acting like it is. It's been retracing since its high of almost $52 and has gone all the way down to about $12. And is acting like this. Now, this is on the non-logarithmic scale, but realize a lot of those big whales bought in when Chainlink was very, very cheap, and maybe even at the ICO or even at the pre-sale. And so it should fundamentally do really, really strong in the coming 6 months if my thesis is correct. Its price should also do really well as long as those large whales don't dump. Now, my guess is a lot of this, some of this retracement, those whales bought in very, very cheap. And so they've just been slowly selling off, creating some downward sell pressure. The concerning thing, as Paul pointed out, this low is lower than this low, which is a concern of a double top. And that might be from there's always, when you have some big whales have massive amounts, there's always some risk that if few of them just decide they're going to exit over time, it's going to put a lot of sell pressure on that and really, really hold it down when it should be going up. So I like this one fundamentally a lot, and they're a dominant player. This is definitely in the blue chip category, because look at this market cap at $8 billion. Can it go higher? Yes, it can, and it likely will in the coming 6 months. And so I like this one for like a blue chip, like lower risk play, an easy one that you can get on some of the big exchanges like Coinbase. But that's my concern with it, is that the whales having such large amounts of this that bought it so cheap can dump on you, or at least stop it from going up as much as it could.
Yeah.
But bullish on the company and their partnerships and the technology service that they provide very much. So
Great. And so the last couple is Solana, which Solana was helpful, I believe, a couple of shows ago when we were talking about this breakout that negated a downward trend. So we were talking about this descending triangle. Descending triangle is usually a bearish pattern, and that's when you get a rally, a fall, a rally that's lower than the previous high, and then a fall, and it's supposed to continue the downward trend. But this did that and then just sort of negated it. It went down and then came straight back up again. So it's almost like it went through a door and then changed its mind and went back the other way. And this was happening before other coins were rallying. So this gave us a lead that actually the other bearish strategies that other people were talking about were going to fail, and put the bias towards the upside. So since that's happened, it's been trading really well. So, there's nothing to really say other than it's still looking bullish. It's taken out the resistance from February, which is great. We get back to, where did it start the year? So it started the year around 172. So that's the target. So when it gets back to the high of the year, that would be great, and I think it will. So all looking good. This is the main trend. If we take a step back and see what we're looking at from a big picture point of view, the main trend is up. We were just seeing whether this correction was going to come back to this resistance support point at 57 where it stopped, or whether it would turn around a bit quicker. So we've maintained a long-term bullish view here. It was just we had to wait for this sort of price action to confirm the next wave, and it's looking good. So more upside.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on this one because there's so much money moving into the Solana ecosystem and so much funding for projects on top of Solana. And some big heavyweight hitters have backed it. And that leads to usually the ecosystem doing very, very well. And if the ecosystem does very, very well, the Solana token will do very, very well. So I like this one a lot. I like that you can buy it easily on so many exchanges. You can buy it on Coinbase. And so I'm bullish on Solana.
Great. And it seems to be accelerating today as well. So that's looking good. Few more of those, and it'll be back up to the high of the year. And so the final one we've got is Cardano, which is, again, one that disappointed a bit. We gave us a few sort of false breakouts, which was a bit of a shame. But it looks like it, dare I say it, it looks like it's turned around now. This could possibly be an inverse head and shoulders forming here. So where it stops here, this little dip here, I think it might dip again, and then we form a inverse head and shoulders. It goes back up and then goes to this 162, which was key resistance. Twice it failed there. So that's really important to take out for it to start its new big bullish trend. But again, you take a step back, you see this is the overall direction of the chart. So at some point, it's going to continue that trend in a really smooth way. It's just this retracement has been going on for a very long time. So this is encouraging price action. And yeah, I'm going to stay on the bullish side just because I'm erring on the bullish side at the moment, and say I think it's a buy still.
Yeah. I like it even at this price. I liked it a lot better at 80 or 90 cents. I love Cardano. I was stocking up on it way back when, 2.5 years ago, when the price was coming down still. And kick yourself when you're buying as it's coming down, but it's so darn cheap. And my first buy was like at 11 cents, and then some more at 7 cents, or even 8 cents, and then some more at 4, 5, and 4, and went all the way to 1.7 cents. So that's the challenge with buying it when it's really, really boring, is it's hard to tell where the bottom is. The bottom was 1.7 cents. And then it went absolutely, absolutely crazy, all the way up to 3.30 or something. And now it's retraced, and it retraced heavily, hitting like 80 cents. And for me, that was a great buy on a fantastic long-term project. And sometimes in the short term, people panic and they're like, oh my gosh, it's not hitting these milestones. And why is it taking so long? And I've always believed in Charles Hoskinson's vision of Cardano, and I think he's continuing to deliver on it slow and steady. But you know what they say about slow and steady, that it wins the race, and we will see. If his Hydra solution comes together, it'll end up doing millions of transactions per second, which will blow away many of these other third generation blockchains out there. And we'll see. We'll see. But for me, this has always been a good bet. I still have some Cardano. I did take profits. I wouldn't say I took profits so much as I sold into things that are cheaper. My take profit zone was $6. But what I did do while it was up is just, it was not at my take profit zone, but there were other things that were so cheap that it retraced 90%, and Cardano was, you know, at $3 or even at 150. And it's like, well, okay. So it's like selling something that's like super beloved to you, like your favorite pony, but in order to buy something that has amazing prospects. And so I still hold some. I don't hold as much as I have, but for if you're not loaded up on blue chips, this one for you to look heavily at is Cardano, and just see if Cardano is in the card for you. Now, maybe it comes down a little bit and retests a number. I don't like buying just after this kind of bullish candle where it just goes like several days in a row. Let's see if I can get a little bit shorter time frame. Right, so it's just gone like straight up since the 18th, or almost straight up. Usually there's then a pullback before it then goes up some more. It's $1.20 now. Not that that's a bad price. This is one that I've covered that I think can go to $15 this bull run. May not, probably. My take profit zones, my actual take profit zones will be below this, like I said, starting at $6 and then tapering up. By $15, I'll have sold almost everything. I was hoping much earlier, like a year ago, that Cardano would hit as high as $30. It missed some benchmarks going to that number, so I'm not sure that it's going to hit it after all, and that possibly as high as $15. And I say possibly, who knows? There's just some reasons that I go through in some other videos covering on why I think $15. All right. Well, thank you, Paul, for joining us. And
always a pleasure.
Thank you in the audience for your picks. If there's some ones you want us to look at next week, put them in the comments, not in the chat section, but the actual comments themselves. Up to 2. It really helps us if you tell us not just the ticker symbol, but the name of it. And also tell us what you like about it. That really helps guarantee we'll put it on the list, because if you take the time to write out what you like about it, then we're definitely going to cover it. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. If you haven't already, and you're ready to be a Rainmaker and join the Navy SEALs of crypto and level up your crypto game, then do it. Now, why do I say the Navy SEALs of crypto? If you think about what's the difference between a Navy SEAL and a lot of the other just average people in the military, is that the Navy SEALs are highly trained, they're skilled, and they're tenacious, right? And they're weeded out to weed out the tenacious. And that's who I find is really successful in crypto, is the tenacious, because if you're here now, you've actually done it really well, and you're probably pretty tenacious. Why? A lot of people have been weeded out through just the day in and day out of prices being down, and it hits you emotionally. And prices have been going down since November, and a bigger retracement since March, even though we had this October pump because of the metaverse. So if you're here watching crypto now, my guess is you're very tenacious, and congratulations to you, because it's those that have a long-term vision, that are here over time, that don't like sell out at the lows and bail out, but just stick around, that tend to make life-changing gains through crypto. And a lot of the friends that I know that are rich from crypto, that I've met through crypto, I found that there was a common attribute. They stuck around even when times were rough, even though 3 months feels like a year when things are rough. So I do know this contrarian approach that I use, coupled with fundamental analysis, and you add in a lot of patience, it works very, very well over time. So consider that all notifications bell, and just tune in when you see our videos pop up. Thank you so much. We do have a special VV live stream every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Join us for that, as well as our ongoing shows. We will see you soon, and remember, no rain, no gain.
Came into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, shit, right before you're good. Was told to buy when it was pouring like a Rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a Rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a Rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a Rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. The next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort cause here comes the rain. So let's go Rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crafting. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a Rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a Rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a Rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.